Hello YouTube. In this video we're going to talk about what to do if you're missing a secondary or downstream O2 sensor. So on my car I got what they call a D16Y7 engine, and for you Civic guys out there, you can spot them because they got the air intake coming up out of the top. They're one of the only, I think it's the only engine from 96 to 2000 that does that. Most of your Honda Civics have a air intake that points out the side, so it makes these kind of unique. It's a pretty good engine. So the bad thing with this design was they put the catalytic converter where my headers are, and what happens is you want a catalytic converter to go hot, to work hot, so they put them nice and close to the exhaust, but they got too hot and they're known for cracking the exhaust. So even if I were to replace this with an OEM head, it's going to experience the same thing where you get a crack inside the exhaust system. It's just a design flaw from Honda on that particular model. And all the other ones do it like this engine is, where they have the headers come down here. You have an O2 sensor. Let's see if I can see it there. You have an O2 sensor that usually goes in the side right there. So that's your upstream. And then your downstream, they've relocated the catalytic converter, back this up, underneath the car, and then they put an O2 sensor under there and run it up through the cab of the car. That being said, so it's a good idea to switch over to that design, to where your headers are up here, your catalytic converters underneath the car. That way you won't have that cracking problem. Also, this kind of goes into another thing where if you have, let's say you're burning a little bit of oil or something, you're getting some smoke in your line and stuff like that, usually from like a leaky piston ring or something like that. But if you're putting out extra exhaust, that's bad on your catalytic converter. So if you have a bad catalytic converter and you're going to switch it out, if you don't, you should have like a compression test done and a leak down test. Make sure you're not burning any extra exhaust, because if you are, those extra fumes are going to go in your catalytic converter and just burn it out. I don't know if it'll burn it out, but it'll definitely clog it up, and it'll ruin your catalytic converter. You'll start throwing check codes and stuff like that. So you want a clean running engine before you change a catalytic converter. In my case, I'm getting close to doing an engine swap. So what you could do, let's say your catalytic converter's bad, and then you discover that you need your catalytic converter's bad, and then you find out you're burning some exhaust. So in that case, you might need a temporary fix. Now, everybody's rules in your area is different. So some people are like in an area that their exhaust regulations like really strict. Maybe every 6 months they got to go in for testing or something. And other areas, other parts of the world, they don't even care about that stuff. So it all depends on your region. Mine's kind of in between. We don't have exhaust checks. So if you do something, nobody's going to know because they don't check. And that's about it in my region. I know that your area might be really strict. Like I know California is really strict and stuff. Anyhow, so that being said, is what you can do is you can take out your catalytic converter and have what they call a test pipe put in. You can order those all day on the internet. Like eBay is a good place to find them. Problem with mine was the test pipe actually looks pretty good, but where they put the bung where you put your O2 sensor in is in the wrong spot. So you have to I have to come up with a different solution. It's going to hit the bottom of my car and just break the O2 sensor. It's starting to rain, but I'm gonna tough it out and make this video for you guys anyways. So if you don't know, this is what an O2 sensor looks like, and there's two. There's the upstream, which means it's ahead of your catalytic converter, and then there's a downstream. Pretty strictly talking about Honda Civics. And the downstream is usually after your catalytic converter. Purpose of the upstream one is to give your car feedback as to how well it's burning, and to decide whether or not to have the fuel injectors put in more fuel or less fuel to regulate the engine performance. So then the second O2 sensor is after the catalytic converter. Your catalytic converter is trying to convert I don't know, pollution or something. There's a lot of debate on what it does. because here's throwing an interjection. I've made some mods to my car, and I actually burn cleaner, I think, than with a catalytic converter, just because of the mods I made. Mainly cleaning up your air intake. The way the EPA had cars designed is they dump a lot of nasty fumes into your intake in an attempt to burn it. You remember how I said you don't want exhaust going in there? Well, that results in gumming up your intake, which hurts your performance, which causes your car to run worse. And then on top of that, then it's going to throw out more pollutants. And then they expect the catalytic converter just to magically clean all that up. To where if you have a clean running engine, it's probably going to run cleaner, in my opinion, than the catalytic converter is going to do. Catalytic converter is going to do a couple other little things for you, but that's brand new on the factory floor under laboratory conditions. You put it in the rear world, you're throwing not even the correct fuel through it because the government re-regulated the fuel content design. Like here, they throw in alcohol and stuff, which is going to change your O2 readings and stuff. It's going to change the way the engine performs, because in the lab, when it's tested, it was tested with a specific octane by the government under laboratory conditions. The real world does not run that way. Local municipalities, plus you're using different fuels and fuel additives, they don't know what's going on. So anyways, long story short, on paper it looks good. If you tune your engine and have it running in good performance, you'll notice probably a cleaner exhaust than you'd get as far as pollutant wise. I'm not talking about different gases, because that's a big debate on what's good and what's not good. But anyways, back on subject. So your first O2 sensor is going to help the engine run correctly. The second one is going to measure the oxygen level, or I'm not sure if that's oxygen level, but it's going to measure some levels out after the catalytic converter and make some adjustments based on that, rather than the engine performance, which the first one's responsible for. So that being said, if you're, let's say you can't put your O2 sensor for whatever reason after your cat, well, that's going to throw a check engine light, because it's going to try to heat up your O2 sensor. It's got two wires. I think on this one it's the black ones. There's a heating element, because you have to heat up the O2 sensor before it'll get into performance mode. And when it's heating up, it's not ready to go, so it runs in what they call an open loop system, which the system's not using any feedback. It's just running based on some formulated stuff. And then once the O2 sensor heats up enough, then the car will go into what they call a closed loop, which means it'll read the values from the O2 sensors, and the computer will adjust the car's fuel injectors accordingly to adjust the engine performance. So that being said, if you do not have your secondary O2 sensor, it's going to detect that it can't heat it up, and it's just going to run an open loop, which you'll have a performance problem, because you won't have as good fuel efficiency, because it's just running off of guesses instead of feedback. So that's the reason why you want to have a secondary O2 sensor. So in this case, there's just a plug, and I'll show you where it is. Maybe let me adjust the camera angle. Okay, I apologize for talking fast, but I realize also this is kind of a long-winded video because there's a lot of explanations. The O2 sensor system is pretty complicated in itself. So here is my secondary O2 sensor right here, and here's my primary. And my primary is plugged in to the exhaust system right there after it comes out of the engine. And then so here's my situation: is I got an open, which is going to cause check engine light in the car to run an open loop. So what I did is I got myself another O2 sensor from Craigslist. I just was looking around and found people that had crash cars or parting out their engines and stuff, and I said, hey, can I have a secondary O2 sensor? And one guy just gave me one, and I really appreciate that. And then you could probably just buy one for I was offering people like $5 for one, and they're more than happy to sell it, because if you have a crash car, you probably don't need it. Anyhow, so if I simply just plug it in, the things will be good. The thing I don't like is I want to protect this a little bit. It's designed to be plugged into an exhaust system. Like I said, in my case, I can't plug it in where it's supposed to go, because the port that it screws into, like this port here, is not hitting anything. Where it is underneath the car, it's at a weird angle, and it's going to hit the bottom of my car and it's just going to mess up the O2 sensor, which they are expensive, and I just needed one to satisfy the computer. So you don't need to go out and buy a $30 Bosch one or anything like that. Just get one from a junkyard or something. It's just got to barely work. So with that, I'm only going to do is I'm going to make a protector for this, and then I'm going to try to mount it. And what I did is I picked this spot right here. I put a little C-clamp. This is just a mounting bracket for your transmission, and my game plan is to put the O2 sensor in there and then screw that clamp down so it won't flip around and hit anything. Then plug it into here and build a protector for that. So next I'll show you how I'm going to build my protector. Okay, these are called, I believe, spark foul plugs or something like that. I think they're designed, I don't know what they're for. I think they're just to pull your spark plug back. If you're running a modded engine from like an American engine or something, and your spark plug's too close and you want to cool it down a little bit or something like that. I'm not even sure, but if you go in and say I need an adapter for an O2 sensor, and you got a Honda Civic, almost every auto place will know what you're talking about. And if you search on YouTube, you'll see tons of mods because it's a very popular mod. So this is one that's been unmodded. Usually get them 2 to a pack. So it's just got a deal in there, and that's it. And this will screw right onto the tip. The problem is the threads only go down to about this area here, and you see it would be too big. It can't go in all the way. You can't even put this on. So what you do is you take yourself a 1/2-inch drill bit and start with a smaller drill bit and work your way up to the 1/2-inch one. So I just took a little drill bit, tap that out, shoot some WD-40, put it like in a vise or something. I used a C-clamp on a little table I have to hold it in place. Shoot WD-40 and just keep drilling it out, and then keep stepping it all the way up until you get to a 1/2-inch, and that's what I did. I drilled it out. Then I took a file and I filed this all down to make sure it's clean, there wasn't any burrs. So now this will screw onto here. Also, there's a ring that'll help lock it in place there. Don't put it on too tight, but put it snug so it won't come off. So that's what I'm going to do first. And the idea of this is to protect this from getting damaged. And I just don't like the idea of it hanging out in the open like that. So I'm going to pause the camera and just screw that on there. Okay, here's where I'm at in this process. All I did is took 2 crescent wrenches and just snug that up. And again, this little, I don't know what you call that. That little ring there will kind of help stick it in there. Don't over tighten it, but make it snug enough to where it won't fall out. So next, I'm just gonna work on getting it in the C-clamp thing, and we'll see. I'll pick it up after I get it in there. Alright, I'm just gonna show you how to connect this up. And I'll get another shot of the O2 sensor, how I got positioned down there. So on this end here, just click it in, and then hopefully it'll show up. If you ever have to remove what I'm about to do, there's a button here, you just push it and that'll get this off. And I'm just going to go down to this clip down here, and boy, it's a tight fit. Actually, I'm going to undo this, just push down. These are tight. Now let me get that going. Alright, let's try that again. So, from the O2 sensor, I'm just going to slide this clip onto here. Oh, it goes this way. There, it's locked into place. And then take the other end, put it on there. Let me get some hand shots of this. Okay, so this came out pretty nice. The edge of this metal fit like right into that groove, and you can't see it, but the other end of this guy kind of ended up lining up with this other groove over here. So it just, it's almost like it's perfect. I can almost shake the whole car with it. It's nice and snug. Only thing I don't like is the cable's close to the fan. So what I'm going to do is just take a zip tie, put it on against this hydraulic line here, and that'll keep that away from the fan. And then on this little trick I'm going to do here is for my other O2 sensor, I noticed it's kind of getting close to the fan too. So what I was going to do is just, there's this little piece here. I'm going to just put the cable in there and then wrap a zip tie on the outside of that, and that'll hold that snug in place and away from the fan. And then at this point, if you start the car, your check engine light should go away. And if it doesn't, you might need to take your get a scanner and just clear the code real quick, and then it should go away. And you'll notice, and then your car will be running what they call in closed loop mode. Not only will you not have a check engine light, but your engine performance, you'll notice a boost in performance, because now it's taking feedback because it's running into a closed loop system, and it's monitoring the exhaust to determine if it should fire more, to regulate the fuel injectors back there. Anyways, so hope this all makes sense. And again, this is just a temporary stopgap till you can get your engine running good, so you don't burn up a new catalytic converter. And eventually, and again, this is just a temporary thing. You don't want to run around like this. You know, set it up right, put your cat back in, and then put your O2 sensor where it's supposed to go. But this will get you by, and also help you with gas performance, because you'll be running into the closed loop system instead of the open loop. Anyways, I hope this video makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below. If you subscribe, you'll see more videos as they come out, and give me a thumbs up if you like this, and thank you for watching.